invitation, and thank you, Boston, for the invitation to really talk to all of you at this just really consequential moment in the life of our beloved organization. As Gary said, we have known each other for a long time, but I am Erin Haines. I'm editor-at-large for the 19th. I am currently the VP of print for my home chapter, the Atlanta Association of Black Journalists. And I'm also your former national VP of print. I served from 2011 to 2015. And now I am a candidate to be your next NABJ president. I've spent a lot of the first month of this campaign talking to chapters from Detroit to South Florida. And I'm really glad to be able to have the chance to talk to y'all tonight, because I can tell you, I mean, chapters are ready for the future. They're eager to meet this moment for our beloved organization. And the question really has been from chapters and from members, will NABJ be ready to meet this moment for our profession and for all of you? And so that's really why I'm running for NABJ president, because I believe that this moment demands bold, visionary, and accountable leadership. My platform is built on 3 pillars: advocacy, innovation, and a long-term vision for NABJ's next 50 years. So I want to talk about each of those just a little bit. First, advocacy. NABJ has to be a relationship builder and a frontline defender of Black journalists, full stop. That means no more delayed responses, no more quiet retreating in moments of crisis. We really need an organization that's going to stand up for our members publicly, quickly, and consistently, most importantly. So that's whether you are a student facing discrimination or a mid-career journalist dealing with burnout or a newsroom leader pushing for equity. NABJ should and will be your strongest and loudest ally with me as your president. The second thing I want to talk about is innovation, because we really cannot meet the future by holding on to the past. We have to build on it, right? Our founders were innovative. They were bold. We can afford to be no less in this moment. AI is here. I don't have to tell y'all that, and it is changing how journalism is produced and valued and consumed. But what we bring to the table as Black journalists will never, ever, ever be replaced by technology. And so we have to figure out how AI works to really amplify the work that so many of you are doing. NABJ has to help with that. We have to lead in preparing our members, not just to survive the shift that is here. Again, it's not coming, it's here, but to adapt to that and to really help shape it. We're going to provide training, resources, and strategy with me as president so that our members feel equipped to lead in this space. I'm already starting this conversation. I invite you to check out on my Instagram page. I had a really good conversation with Isosa Osa, who was a Black woman leading in the AI conversation. We had a robust conversation about what AI is going to mean for Black journalists specifically. She's also going to be at the convention in Cleveland, and it's going to be a really good panel, but there's a preview if you want to go to my Instagram page. Third, I want to come back to building NABJ for the next 50 years, because that is what I'm focused on. But that means building with chapters like yours. You should be part of this conversation, part of the planning for this future. You should not be on the margins. But too often that is the situation for chapters. You're left to fend for yourselves, you're under-supported, you're under-resourced, and you're disconnected from the national organization. That's so much of what I'm hearing right now. It's frustrating. That has to change. And as your president, here's what I want to do. One, I want to create a chapter innovation fund that's going to support local programming, as well as emergency needs that you guys might have. I want to work with our regional directors and have a dedicated liaison on the national staff and on the national board that works to ensure that chapters have real-time support, clear communication, and access to national opportunities. I want to prioritize your capacity building. With toolkits and trainings and partnerships and best practices, it's not just about Chapter Day. Chapter Day is great, but we can be extending the opportunities and best practices that people are learning in Chapter Day all year round. And prioritizing that to help chapters grow and fundraise and thrive. And I'll ensure that chapter leaders have a seat at the table. I want to be in conversation with you all. I want to be learning from you and working with you when decisions are made, because you guys are not an afterthought for me. You are the foundation and the lifeblood of NABJ. This is where I got my start, so I know how important local chapters are. And it's not just about restoring relevance for NABJ. That part is about rebuilding trust, and I'm ready to lead that work. Why do I say that? Because I've spent decades in this industry as a reporter, as an editor, now as a founder, and as a longtime national voice for equity in journalism. I bring to this role the reputation, the relationships, and results to get action. I helped to start my newsroom, the 19th, literally to disrupt the status quo in our industry, and now I want to bring some of that same spirit to the NABJ presidency. So I hope that this is just going to be the start of our conversation and our work together. I'm here to listen and hopefully answer a couple of your questions about why I'm running, but I'm asking for your vote today, and you can cast that vote starting July 14th But in the meantime, you can also learn more about my campaign by going to Erin, the number 4, NABJ.com. And you can also sign up for my free campaign newsletter there. So with that, I look forward to hearing what you guys want to know. What more can I tell you about what I want to do?
Question for you. This is Sherrod Blakely,
Yeah.
Boston University. You, in your initial comments, mentioned how you've been on the e-board before and your work with various chapters. I'm just curious, as you talk to various chapter leaders throughout the country, as you mentioned, how different were those conversations from what you knew about in your previous roles on the e-board? Like, were they telling you something that was very different than your experience when you were on the e-board, or did it kind of reinforce some of the issues or concerns you maybe had when, again, when you were in previous positions within ABJ?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there are still some of the things that existed, that have existed really for the duration of the organization that we need to solve for. Like chapters too often do still feel like they don't really feel like they're in a true partnership with the national organization. Like I do hear a lot of chapters feeling that way. Some or chapters who feel like there are some chapters that have good relationships, strong relationships with the national organization, or their relationship is stronger maybe during a convention year, right? But in other years, or depending on what region of the country you're in, you don't feel as connected to the national organization. That is something that can and should change, that we need to address. But I think the thing that feels different to me about my time on the board previously, chapters, we would hear from chapters when there was a situation on the ground, right? They called, not only was that local chapter president responding to whatever that situation was, but they were calling NABJ to ask for help, right? When I talk to chapters and I say, what is the situation here? How are your journalists faring in this current climate? They're telling me about, some of the challenges that they're facing. And I'm just like, okay, well, what is your outreach to the national organization? And they're like, what? Oh, yeah, I guess we could have, like, it doesn't occur to some of these chapters that they should be reaching out for help. That didn't used to be the case. It was understood that the backing of the national organization was an asset to whatever progress or however those chapters were looking to confront those situations that were happening. That in some of these chapters, that is not how chapter leaders are feeling. They feel like they're on their own. They're figuring things out by themselves, and they are the ones that are in relationship with a lot of these newsrooms advocating for our members.
Okay. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Coria Holland, and I'm a communications professional here in Massachusetts. And I have a question about what you foresee for communications professionals in NABJ. I've been a longtime member of NABJ, both as when I started out as a journalist, as a print journalist, and then moving on into communications. But I know we have a media related group that I have been involved with, but communications really seems like a subset, of the organization. And I'm just wondering, how you think, communications can be more involved or, synced into the organization and what you see for the future of that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, thank you for that question. What I would say is, just as we are in relationship with our communications professional colleagues in our day-to-day work, in
Mhm.
it should be no different. Like there is absolutely a role for our communications professionals to play, especially folks who have transitioned out of journalism and for whom this is their, they still are using those skills and experience and leveraging that in a new way, right? Like that does not mean that they are no longer part of the NABJ family. You absolutely are part of the NABJ family. And I hope that you feel like that. And I assure you that I would make sure that you are still to feel that way, right? Because journalism is still in your bones. I can see that, just hearing the question that you're asking. And so how do we engage those members? How do we keep you involved? How do we feel, how is it that you can feel like you are still having community and fellowship and you're not feeling outcast just because you've transitioned out of journalism. I understand we are the National Association of Black Journalists. That is always going to be our priority first and foremost. That's my priority first and foremost. But people, but life happens, right? And people move on to other opportunities for which they are well qualified because of the journalism foundation that they have. How do we harness those folks to still be contributing members of the organization, right, in a way that feels fulfilling for them as members, and in a way that feels mutually beneficial for the organization and for you?
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Erin, I just want to know, like, it just seems to be what can us rank and file members, I asked this previously too, what can us rank and file members help or get more better communication? I think there's a kind of a consensus, like the whole thing, obviously, with Trump being invited to Chicago, the rank and file members, the regular members, us regular folks, the working class members of NABJ felt left out. The city choice, people are wondering why, and they ask, well, why are we going to Cleveland? Why not? Why haven't we gone to the West Coast? Like, except, like, people are constantly kind of seemingly left out of some of the decisions that the national makes. And it's just, well, that's just the way it is. It just happened. And we're left out. And then the controversy where it was like that Kamala was only could do a Zoom call and was rejected on that offer. And so she didn't, like, how do we, the rank and file, one, find out more information and have more input about how some of these decisions are made, to where we're not finding out at the last minute, or we're not asking, why am I going to Cleveland? Or if NABJ struggles in Cleveland, people were like, well, it's because it was in Cleveland. Like, people, like, I think there's a level of, like, people think that there's no common sense thought on some of these thoughts. Like, and how does that communication improve to where regular members can understand why Cleveland was chosen, or why one city wasn't, or why we've never been to Charlotte, or, like, some of the things that our members ask because obviously the national convention is the big deal. People are making, plans a year in advance to come. And I just think they feel kind of unsure of why and how these decisions are made.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's unfortunate, because you do have members, especially, vets like us, or people that are coming into the organization who are invested in the business of the organization. They actually want to know what's happening, not just at the convention, but year round, right? Like, that $100 that you're paying for your membership is not just so that you can attend the convention. It is because we want you to be an engaged and informed member. But this is another problem that we hear far too often. When I'm talking to members, the transparency piece is an issue. We don't know what's going on, right? Decisions are being made, and we don't know what the decision was, what the process was. And this is an organization of journalists. Like, that's unacceptable, right? I think also people want to be heard, right? When somebody, I'm old enough to remember when we had a listserv where we could raise a lot of these issues, right? And somebody did feel compelled to respond in a forum, right? I want to encourage all of you, again, if you are not signed up for my free campaign newsletter, you can do that on my website, Erin4NABJ.com. And I say that because I'm already trying to communicate with you about what I plan to do as your next president. That newsletter is something that will absolutely continue after I'm elected. And what I would want to use that for is to continue to communicate with you about the business of NABJ. Like, you shouldn't, secretary minutes, where are they? What's happening? I don't know what's going on, with the secretary. Like, I expect, our next secretary to be somebody that's communicating. But I, as president, I also understand that I have a responsibility to communicate and to be responsive to members when they are reaching out. And I guess the last thing that I would say on that, Gary, is, listen, get your $100 worth. Raise your voice. I want every member to be asking questions. You all should be holding us accountable because you've elected us to represent you, right? But that representation is not just about
Did she freeze up?
Oh, okay. I thought I thought everybody froze up. She did freeze up. What about?
Give her a minute to thaw out.
Yeah.
Actually, someone should probably let her know she froze because she may not even know. Okay. Maybe she's going to come back in.
My Wi-Fi went away. Can you guys hear me now?
Okay,
Yep.
yes.
I'm so sorry. Okay, so the last thing I was saying was I was talking to Gary about really members getting their money's worth in terms of holding us accountable. Like that $100 means that you uh, get to to speak up and ask us the things that you want to know. And when you do that, though, we should be responsive. That is not something that is happening all the time right now. And I understand that we are a large and very active organization, and that people are doing taking on this role in addition to their day job. But like that is what we have signed up for, and I can commit to you that I will try my very best to be responsive to each and every person that is asking questions like the kinds of questions that you have raised now, because you all deserve that. And also because we are an organization of journalists, and that is what needs to happen.
Okay.
Anybody else? Oh, wait, Melanie, you're on mute, I think. Sorry. I know.
There we go.
I know it. I know it from Zoom.
Would you have invited Trump to NABJ in Chicago? And would you invite him as president in 2026?
I would have invited Trump as president in Chicago. I would not invite him as president. Let me talk about that. So I would have invited him as a candidate because in the tradition of organization to invite presidential candidates to address the membership. Our members deserve to have access to the presidential candidates. I believe that. I also understand I'm not a dummy. I also literally, political journalism is my job. And I know that we are dealing with somebody who is a particular kind of candidate. And when I say particular, I mean somebody who has a track record of not being honest and of using those kinds of forums as an opportunity for him, right? And so thinking about how that could have also been an opportunity for our membership. I mean, as we know, this is not somebody that is engaging with Black journalists on a regular basis. And that was a forum, that was an audience that was not just about our membership at that convention. Black America was tuned in, right? The people that we do this job for on a daily basis, we get to ask questions on their behalf, right? Like we have that opportunity, regardless of what his answer is going to be able to ask those questions that we otherwise probably are not going to get to ask because he is not somebody that is engaging with us. That felt important to me. Here's what else I'll say about that. I did not think that what I would have done differently is that I would have allowed Kamala Harris to appear on Zoom the same week as our convention. I felt like that was important. I felt like they both should have had the opportunity to address the membership during our convention. Just because she could not be there in person, we're on the other side of a pandemic. Hello, I'm addressing you all on Zoom right now. This feels very important to me that I'm able to talk to y'all, even though I'm not there with you all in person. I think that if Vice President Harris had been able to address the membership on Zoom, that still could have been a substantive conversation that could have been a worthwhile experience for our membership, but also, as part of the campaign conversation. By the way, the Republican nominee for president name checks her in his remarks in person, so she doesn't have a chance to respond in real time, to our membership. That didn't seem okay to me, and that is something that I definitely would have done differently because, even though we did have that live forum with her later on in Philadelphia, by then, obviously it was a very different conversation than I think it had she had a chance to address us, in the week that we were in Chicago.
I have a quick question as well. Hi, I'm Kwani. I do social media for the Boston chapter, but we were talking earlier about the age of DEI, and obviously it's being rolled back for a lot of corporations, specifically journalism outlets. How do you plan on addressing these outlets when it comes to not only protecting Black journalists, but making sure we're holding these outlets accountable for not scaling back on us being in the room.
Yeah, I mean, so like this is what I was talking about, Connie, when I was saying, advocacy does not always have to be adversarial, right? Like I'm in the room with industry leaders, I'm in relationship with these people, reminding them of the commitment that they did have, not so long ago to DEI, I think is important. Reminding them that we are certainly committed to DEI. We certainly believe that our stories matter, that our journalists are bringing a perspective that is telling an honest and accurate story about who and where we are as a country. Like putting that on record in front of the people that have stood with us in the past feels very important to me. And if they, are of the posture that they, for whatever reason, cannot stand with us going forward, like make that known. We need to know who we are dealing with, and so that we can move accordingly, right? We need to keep the pressure on these folks, but we also need to celebrate our journalists. I mean, Kwani, you're doing social media for your chapter. I would love to see NABJ promoting the work of our members all across the country all the time. We are telling the story of this country right now. This isn't about DEI. This is about us telling the story of America. Our stories are American stories. They matter. It doesn't matter who is in the White House and what they might say about the work that we are doing. We know that our work matters, and we are going to say that loudly and boldly in whatever climate, we find our politics in. That feels important to me, and that feels like something that we are not doing enough of. We need to lift up our journalists. I came into this meeting actually thinking about my friend Amber Payne, who announced, as you all probably saw in her newsletter, that she's leaving as the publisher of The Emancipator. The Emancipator is hugely important. Like I would love to be excited about, whoever the next person is going to be that's going to be publisher, the next chapter of The Emancipator. NABJ should be cheering them on and thanking Amber for her contribution. It's certainly something that I plan to do on my social media. I bet you all are planning to do it too as a chapter, right? Where is NABJ doing that? Like this is something that we can do though. We don't need other people to recognize us, or if they aren't going to recognize us, we have to make sure that we are recognizing us. And pointing out our contribution to people on a regular basis and saying why our representation matters, because it doesn't matter any less than it did before January 20th.
Hi, this is Nicole.
Hi.
Publicist in Boston. Would you consider a meeting with the Boston chapter, a meeting with the various chapters throughout the year to see what their progress is, see if there's any questions or concerns?
Absolutely. I mean, the first order of business is a chapter listening tour, right? Whether it has to be virtual like this, or whether in the course of my, travels, either, as the next NABJ president, or even with work, like making sure that I'm carving out time to meet with chapters when I'm on the ground in my professional capacity. Like I want to engage with you. You all should not just be seeing or hearing from me once a year if I'm your president. Like we should be in relationship as well. So yes, like meeting with chapters, hearing what those challenges are, hearing what the opportunities are, right? Like I want to not only be there when you all are in trouble, but I want to be there to celebrate. Like, when you're having your galas, giving out scholarships, like I want to be there to toot your horn too. Like that's the kind of stuff that also gets to go in the newsletter, because other chapters need to see when chapters are doing good work, when, what's happening to members that they may also be colleagues of. Like that stuff absolutely matters. But if we're not in relationship, how can I know to promote what you're doing or to also call attention to an issue that you all need amplified?
Thank you.
Any other questions? All righty. Thank you very much, Erin. Have a great night.
Thank you.
We appreciate your time.
Thank you.